Got a side quest that came across my table today. What if you made a mod, and we all love modders, they make most of our games even better. What if you made a mod so popular, it was downloaded millions of times? In this case, for Skyrim. It then started to win awards. What does everybody tell you to do? They tell you to go ahead and make your own game. That's exactly what these guys did, and that's what we're going to be checking out today. We're heading into the Forgotten City. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Forgotten City by Modern Storyteller is the developer. And this is exactly as I explained in the intro. This was a mod for Skyrim that was so popular, won awards, all that kind of stuff. The guys went in and made their own game. They've more than doubled the amount of dialogue in the game, fully voice acted and done an extremely good job of it. A narrative mystery game. So what we're going to be doing here, and I have a soft spot for these games. I've played dozens of these over the last couple of years, and I really have a good enjoyable time with a game that's good 7-8 hours long, has a really good solid mystery. If the storytelling is there and the mystery is good enough, I think it's well worth it, although gameplay is obviously a little lacking. So what I'm going to do here is give you the setting, because that is everything for these kind of games. You wash up by a river, met by a lady who says, "What are you doing here?" But while you're here, somebody else washed up as well. You should go and check on them in these ancient ruins that we happen to be stuck by. Why don't you dip inside and see what's going on? And upon entering there, we're going to find all sorts of wackiness, including a portal sending us back in time to the same ruins, but 2,000 years earlier, in the time of the Roman Empire. That worked so much better than I thought it would. That was amazing. And then we arrive here. And what we find is we are stuck. This is another Groundhog Day style game where we can reset the day. This is very much similar to the Sexy Brutal, if ever you ever remember that, an absolutely phenomenal game which revolved around you learning the patterns of the people within the hotel and then being there at the right time. Similar sort of deal here. We are going to encounter 20 individuals and a deep and disturbing mystery to uncover, and we're going to have to find out about these guys. We're going to have to see what goes on during their day. We're going to have to see if we can alter the time in order to affect how things happen in the city and maybe even get ourselves free because we're trapped back here in the past. And through that, we're going to have to learn about these characters. So that is our setting. This is an also interesting game because the devs actually specifically ask at the beginning of the game not to spoil the ending. They didn't want that ending ending up on YouTube and things like that. So there are 4 endings to this game. The first 3 can be encountered within like 2 hours. Some people can even hit it within half an hour. If you want the canon ending, as they describe it, and I have played through the game now, I do know the canon ending, that's going to take you another good 6 or so hours. That's if you're into it and you want to see what's going on and you want to see how these lives all play out. That is going to take you there. So let's jump into the live play session so you can see what's going on. Welcome to the Forgotten City. Here it is. Isn't it beautiful? They've done a really good job with this. For a small group of devs, like 3 main devs, they've done an absolutely tremendous job creating this world. And with these games, the gameplay is always pretty light. So we have a few things. So we've got like zip lines so we can get around the city easier and encounter the 20 or so individuals that are located around the city and deal with them. Now, when it comes to narrative games, I have played, like I said, a lot of them. Some of them are stinkers, some of them are good. It always depends on the characters. The characters are everything. If you're interacting with boring NPCs, that's when it's not very interesting and you're kind of like, okay, this is like very similar to Mass Effect 1. I know I'm going to upset some people with this, but it's how I feel. Very similar to Mass Effect 1 when you first arrive on the Citadel, you're just utterly bombarded with information. Some of the characters are interesting, some of them aren't, and it can feel like, okay, I need a good hour and a half really to absorb this massive info dump, and then I can get going with it. So let me set the atmosphere for this for you. First of all, let's see, look at over here. What do we have here? These golden statues that are located around the city. And you're going to find that all your characters are under some sort of rule, which is the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is really kind of the main crux of the morality in the game.
And lets out his threefold graying.
Livia, would you stop muttering like Medea over a cauldron? You'll scare away my customers.
They follow their trades. imitating their previous lives, but they are ignorant.
This again. You're in a world of your own, aren't you?
Yeah, so here's Livia and Aurelia, two of the first characters you're probably going to meet here. Let me explain this golden rule for you, because it's one where I think might be grabbing to a lot of you in terms of the morality and the fine line of morality the game likes to follow. When we get here, all these guys are going to be talking about the golden rule. Yes, you did see the heads on the statues move. They are watching and they are listening. So if we turn, you'll see the statues are following us. What is the golden rule? The golden rule is, if somebody sins in the Forgotten City, everybody will be punished. So here's the question. What's a sin? Suicide? Bribery? Lying? Murder? Stealing? Well, you got to find that out throughout the game. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but you'll find it out because it's all about times changing. There's a lot of references to that. This is during the Roman Empire, so these guys decided we need to stick to the Roman law because the Roman law would be correct, right? And for the most part, that kind of works. But what we have is a people who are terrified of doing anything that could be considered bad because if they do, the gods would be angry and then you might end up as a golden statue. So that's kind of the feel for it. You can see lots of people have been turned into golden statues. Let's have a look at these characters. Like I said, this game is all about the characters. I think Aurelia is a really interesting character. So I'm going to give you a taster of what this character is like.
Your clothes. So exotic.
Is that right, Aurelia? I hate Aurelia.
Ah, you're here. I'm so glad you decided to visit. I'm Aurelia. And I hope I'm not being too forward, but the moment I laid eyes on you, I was intrigued. There's a light in your eyes I've never seen before. A certain learning and sophistication.
Is that right? So she's flirting with me. As you can see, I've done all these dialogue choices. So you might be tempted, as most gamers are, to flirt back with her. So we'll say, oh, you're as charming as you are beautiful.
Ugh, coming on a bit strong, don't you think?
Well, you came on to me.
I take back what I said. Suddenly, I don't find you so intriguing anymore. Let's just forget that ever happened, so we can at least do business. So, what brings you to my tavern?
All right, so obviously your gamer brain is probably kicking in is maybe there is a way to seduce or to flirt back with Aurelia, and you're probably going to find that out.
See ya.
And there might be advantages to figure that out, because perhaps Aurelia has something we need, and maybe being on her good side would be a good idea. Perhaps she's just a douchebag, and you need to find out more about it. So there's that kind of character, and then of course we've got Livia over here, and in fact we do get this full inventory over here of the Citizen Register of all the characters that are here. Aurelia, Claudia, Decius, and so on and so forth. Of all the people, and more importantly, where they live. Finding out about their homes would probably be good in order to solve certain questions you might have. Now, in relation to the time travel sort of fixing X, similar to most games that have this, we're the only one that retains our memories as we travel back through time, which is very advantageous. As you can tell, when I spoke to Aurelia, it was like the first time we had ever met, despite me having 15 hours in this game and having many conversations with Aurelia and Livia. They've never seen me before in my entire life. So how do we do this? Well, I said you're breaking the golden rule. So one thing we could probably test is stealing. So I want to show you the time travel. So Skyrim-esque, we find a key on the table. We'll take the key, and
the many shall suffer for the sins of the one.
Let's do this. Let's rob Aurelia of 2,000 denaries. Now we gain 2,000 money, but now you can hear the soldiers are coming, and if these soldiers kill you, that's it. It's back to the save point. So we have to reset the day, don't we? So we're going to run back to our starting point over here, where a portal is going to be opened in a second by a man called Sentius, who is going to allow us to reset this day, and Aurelia will be none the wiser. However, because we reset the day in our Doctor Who fashion, we're also going to get to keep all the money we stole from her. We're going to get to keep all the money. So here we go. We're Doctor Whoing it, guys. We're Doctor Whoing all the way back in time, and we're going to reset the day so we can start again. So I'm sure by now the gameplay elements that you're thinking about are already made clear. Very similar to Outer Wilds is that we will have options and things to do. Now, a great element they've added to this that's not in the Outer Wilds and other similar games is our friend Galerius here. I always get his name wrong, you'll apologize me.
Salve, friend.
Galerius, there it is. Galerius, I've spent a long time with. Galerius, I'm going to say I'm a little busy right now, so we're not spoiling too much. But Galerius, you can ask him. He's always waiting for you when you reset the day. And once you accomplish certain primary tasks that are actually pretty important, most games would ask you to solve those in a specific order on, say, the final day or the big day. Is you have to run around the whole city and kind of figure out what to do to finish it. In this one, they actually got Galerius to do those tasks for you. So as you do major events throughout the game, Galerius will actually run off and do these tasks for you so you don't have to do them every single time you reset the day. It's a wonderful touch. I'm very happy they added this. There is a little bit of combat, which is kind of the last thing I'm going to show you, because if you've not seen right now what this game revolves, which is fantastic characters, a mystery to behold, exploring the city, thinking about what's worth stealing, so you can go into most people's homes. Obviously, that's something that's going to be a progressive unlock for more important people's homes, things like that. But there is a little bit of combat and a very tiny bit of
You're not thinking about going into the system,
platforming, but it's very light. It's not really the crux of the game. It's not really the crux of the game at all. So I'll show you now is we do eventually get a weapon. And there are some enemies in the game. But there is an important note I thought I was well worth mentioning here, actually, is that there are some horror elements. As you can see, there's some this, like, zombie creature here. So that's it. That's all the, like, combat you'll see in the game, is that where we have a bow that turns things into gold. There is a horror element, but, and here's the interesting thing, because a lot of these games you probably suspect do have a horror element. You can see we do have a flashlight, because we are from modern times. I'm not going to explore further down there. The game actually is not a horror game. And when it gets to the section, and I think this is really worth mentioning for people who are put off by perspective horror stuff, the game will say, you can do this, but it's kind of gory and kind of gross. It doesn't affect the main game, though. It's a side quest within the side quest of the show. There are several events that happen that aren't really related to the overall story arc. And it will say, like, look, this is a bit of a horror section. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. If you're not into that, we'll alter the story for you so you don't have to do it. It isn't too gruesome, but it's definitely much more gruesome than anything else in the game. It does only happen once. But we do have lots and lots of areas here to explore. We have an entire marketplace with lots of very interesting characters from all different cultures. Egyptians, we have Greeks, we have Germans. We have lots of different characters and lots of different events that will sort of unfold as we play. And all these characters are, of course, obeying the golden rule to make sure they don't get... they don't die, because they don't know what will cause it. And that is the ultimate fear these people all live under, is they have no idea what will trigger the golden rule to be broken. And they live in abject fear that anything could break that rule. If I was to levy any criticism of the game, it would be the same thing I kind of mentioned with Mass Effect, is that nearly every character, not every single character, but nearly every character is accessible from your first day. And they're very much expository sort of vomiters to introduce themselves, understand their backstory, and get a good feel for their character. I want to play through one more event before I call this, so you kind of get an idea of the kind of choices you're going to make. That could be... I think they could have done a better job of staggering that, because once you kind of understand the game on day one, you're then really... You understand that I should probably go and talk to absolutely everybody so I know what the situation is with each character. Every single one of the characters has a very distinct personality, a very distinct reason for being here, and a very distinct thing that they kind of want, or they need doing, or that they're linked in a great chain of things. And the game is absolutely at its strongest when you know those characters and you want to go and talk to them because something has happened. That's when it's at its best. But you do have this kind of first day getting to know everybody. And it's very much a case of, as soon as you talk to somebody, they want to tell you their whole life story. I think they could have done better with staggering that. Like having some of the characters, like a simple way of doing it would have some of the characters not really be willing to talk to you until other things had happened. And then they're like more interested. Once you had something to offer them, then they would be a bit more trusting. As it is, a lot of the characters will kind of go, hi, how are you? Let me tell you about my entire life. It's kind of understandable, considering they've been living here alone and they can't escape the Forgotten City. There's no way of getting out. that they do want new people to talk to, and we are the stranger in the Forgotten City. But let's run through this event to finish up, because I think it really displays the kind of thing you want to do. So we're going to be a lovely lady called Octavia, and as you can tell, I know their names, because you do very much get to know the characters, which is such a key importance of a game like this.
How are you faring so far?
How are you? Life under the Golden Rule. I'm fine, thanks.
Ah, another stoic, perhaps. We all need something to help us through times like these. We've all been where you are now. I remember when I first arrived. I used to lay awake at night contemplating the big questions. Why am I here? Is there a way out? What is the Golden Rule, and who or what is responsible for it? I still don't have any of the answers, I'm afraid. I don't think anybody does. But I'm happy to share with you what I've learned.
So you can see, we get a ton of information. Like, what's your story? It's a very simple answer, question that we have for everybody. I'm going to say I'm going now, obviously, to avoid spoilers.
All right,
I will have one minor spoiler event now. So if you're really worried about spoilers, now's the time to tune out, if this is the kind of game you fancy.
I can't believe this is how it ends.
Oh no. No. No, 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 no. Orpheus, what are you doing? Get back from there. If you lose your balance, you'll fall.
That's the idea.
What? Why? Why would you want that?
Why do you think I'm stuck for the rest of my life working for a man who treats me like an animal?
I know things are hard for you right now. They're hard for all of us. We're all in this together, Ulpius. Please, please just think this through. If you do this, it could be the sin that seals all of our fates. Is that what you want?
I'm sorry, but I just don't care anymore.
Please, Ulpius. Help him. If he goes through with it, it could be the end for us all. I don't know what to do. I've never had to deal with this sort of thing. Please, you need to talk to him.
So, a few things here, because I don't want to spoil what the outcome is of this event, but you can see that the way the setting's playing out. She doesn't really want him to commit suicide, not to commit suicide for his own good. That's part of it, but more realistically, this might kill us all. We don't know what's going to break the Golden Rule, and that's her big fear. It's like, if he commits suicide right now, that could spell death for all of us. It's not just you, because we have no idea what's going to break this Golden Rule. We have no idea who's imposed the Golden Rule. But as you just saw by resetting the day, that is what happens when you break the Golden Rule. The whole city is eradicated. Only we get to go back in time. I do want to mention the animations, because I think it's very standout. For me, this is more than fine for this kind of game. It's not perfect. The eyes are a little wonky. And the voice lineup is not ideal. It's pretty good. More than enough for me. I'm totally fine with this because the game's about the story. I don't really care about getting... I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda, we have to bring it up. It could be better, but I don't think it plays too badly into the game. So that is the Forgotten City. A mystery to be solved. Events like this and a lot of morality and dialogue choices to really see you through that. That will see you to multiple endings, and it's really well written. It's super well written, and these guys did a really good job. So I think it was worth covering on this little side quest. But that is my side quest complete, guys. So there you guys have it, the Forgotten City. I really tried to cut out as much as possible without spoiling it, because that is the request of the devs. It's actually written right here on the screen. Please don't spoil this game. I finished it. It was incredible. I had a great time with it. There's a few things there they could do a little bit better, like animation-wise, but it's all about the story. Everything in these kinds of games, story, characters, make them all interesting, make them people you want to talk to. That's the most important thing, and they absolutely nailed it in the Forgotten City, and I truly recommend it if you're into some murder mystery stuff. Next game on the list we're going to be looking at is Ace Attorney, finally moving to the PC. All I know is that it is crazy, wacky, and completely Japanese, so we're jumping in with that one. Hope to see you there. Bye, guys.